Hello and welcome to part 2 of our Mesh Modeling in SOLIDWORKS 2018. Again, my name is Marlon Banta. I'm a Senior Manager in the Product Definition team. In part 2, we're going to talk about a new mesh body type. So in part 1, we talked extensively about graphics bodies in SOLIDWORKS, and then of course, we're all familiar with what we'd refer to as classic SOLIDWORKS geometry. And this is the geometry that you create in SOLIDWORKS by creating extrudes, loft sweeps, adding cuts, fillets, all those sorts of things. There is a new body type that we're introducing in SOLIDWORKS 2018, and that is the new mesh geometry body type, or the new mesh body type. It is very much a hybrid between graphics bodies and classic SOLIDWORKS geometry. I would say that the definition of classic SOLIDWORKS geometry, under the hood at least, is a series of equations that define the location of every point on the faces of classic SOLIDWORKS geometry. A graphics body is a series of triangles or facets that are brought together to represent the desired geometry. With the new mesh geometry, we use facets to define the faces of the new mesh body type. So let's understand what that means. Using mesh geometry, the supported geometry operations are Boolean operations, where you take another mesh body and use it to either add or subtract material from an existing mesh body. You could also model regular SOLIDWORKS geometry or standard SOLIDWORKS geometry, convert it to mesh, and then Boolean it with existing mesh geometry. We can see the recommended workflow on the right, where you would import as mesh or convert existing geometry to mesh. Then you would model the bodies to add or subtract using standard SOLIDWORKS geometry. You would then convert that standard SOLIDWORKS geometry to mesh, and then use Boolean operations to add geometry, or use Boolean operations to subtract geometry. So let's take a look at a demo of this new mesh geometry in SOLIDWORKS 2018. So for this example, I've imported this toy character from an STL file, and I've opened it as a graphics body. So the first step is we're going to convert this from a graphics body to a mesh body using the new convert to mesh feature. First thing we do is select the body, and we have options to keep the original body or group facets into faces. We'll go ahead and check group facets into faces, and here it creates the new mesh body, and it's grouped some of these facets into different regions, or these face regions, within the model. So our goal with this model is to separate the head from the body and add a feature in the body that would allow the head to rotate. So the first thing we'll do, we'll come in here and create a reference plane. I'm going to select a facet, and I'll make it coincident to that facet. So now we have a plane that's essentially at the bottom of the head and the top of this torso. Again, the operations that are possible with this new mesh body type are Boolean operations and body type operations. So if I come in here, I can split the body using that reference plane. I'll cut the part and choose to keep the head and the torso. And now I can come in here and hide the head. And I can use this reference plane again to create a sketch. So I'm going to use a perimeter circle, and I'm using this to essentially get a center point. So I'm going to make that construction, and now I'm going to create the inner circle, and we'll say that that is 40 millimeters in diameter. Okay, so the next step is I'm going to create an extruded feature. There you go, we'll do it 60 millimeters. And what I'm going to do is, if I press OK, I get this warning message saying that I cannot merge standard SOLIDWORKS geometry with this new mesh geometry. So in this situation, I have to press unmerge. And what I have are 3 bodies, and 2 of them are visible. One is standard SOLIDWORKS geometry, the other is mesh geometry. And as we mentioned, you want to do the geometric operations on the standard geometry. You want to do all of those geometric operations on the standard geometry before you convert it to mesh, and then Boolean it to the existing mesh body. So in this situation, let's add a fillet, And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this standard SolidWorks geometry and convert it to the new mesh geometry. I'm going to keep original body. I can refine the mesh, or I can make it more coarse. It's about right there, and that seems to faithfully represent the geometry. And I'm going to choose to keep the original body, and I'll show you why in a minute. So now we have this torso and this body, and let's bring them together so we have one single body. We're going to use combine, and I'm just going to add the two together, and there we go. So if you remember, we kept this original standard SolidWorks body. I'm going to use that, convert it to mesh. I don't need to keep the original body this time. I'm going to convert it to mesh, and I'm going to use that to cut the hole in the head to accommodate that shaft in the torso. Right here, I'm going to use combine and subtract. I'm going to use that as the cutting tool. And there we have a hole in the head. So now, using this mesh geometry, we've been able to geometric edits to a file that originally started out as an STL file, and now I can move this on to either additive manufacturing or try and machine that, or do more operations. Perhaps I would want to separate the arms from the torso and make it so the arms can move as well. I will include in this posting a list of features that are supported with the new mesh geometry. Please try out the new mesh geometry in SolidWorks 2018. Thank you very much for viewing this video for mesh geometry in SolidWorks 2018.